Real Virginia is produced by the Virginia Farm Bureau. Farming, it's all good. Visit our website at vafarmbureau.org.
Home will always be Virginia, between the Blue Ridge and Chesapeake Bay, Atlantic to Appalachia, home in my heart always.
Hello everyone and welcome to Real Virginia, a show about Virginia agriculture and the people who produce all of the wonderful products we enjoy.
The legend of the racehorse Secretariat continues in his bloodline. We'll introduce you to part of his legacy coming up. Compost is an ideal tool for gardeners, and we'll see how one farmer creates his from scratch. And food deserts are real in Virginia. We'll tell you about a big screen production that explains why so many Virginians lack easy access to fresh food.
Welcome back, everyone. We are coming to you this week from the Central Virginia Feed More Warehouse. This is the location where volunteers and partner agencies come together to deliver food to needy Virginians, but so much more needs to be done, and we'll show you that coming up during our story on food deserts. But first, let's go to the Virginia Tech Middleburg Agricultural Research and Extension Center. That's where one of the descendants of the nation's most famous racehorse is helping to promote the breed.
The Mare Horse Research Center is home to Innkeeper, one of Secretariat's sons. In addition to being a direct link to the legacy of the 1973 Triple Crown winner, he's an example of how thoroughbreds are one of the most versatile horse breeds.
What Innkeeper's done is to kind of show people that, you know, the thoroughbred horse is he's smart, he's athletic, he's sound, he's tame, he can do anything, and Innkeeper's proved that. He's 25 years old now, still going strong, and he's done it all.
Innkeeper was sold as a yearling for $1.2 million to trainer Dwayne Lucas. After a promising racing start as a 2-year-old, he was retired from the track. His descendants have been successful not only at racing, but in other show horse competitions, such as dressage, hunting, and eventing. Thoroughbred horses are quickly gaining popularity as great riding horses. They retire from racing early and are available for many years of pleasure and competition riding after they leave the track environment.
All of our thoroughbreds that we're using here in the research have come off the track, so they're going to be repurposed into these studies and living out their retirement here, healthy and eating grass for our research. But it's wonderful. I have a thoroughbred cross, and she's been amazing. She's been my heart horse. So they are a wonderful, wonderful breed.
Just like the new lives of many thoroughbreds, Virginia's horse industry is very diverse. That's why folks at the Mare Center are excited about the upcoming Virginia Horse Festival at the birthplace of Secretariat, Meadow Event Park, on March 27th through the 29th. There will be riding demonstrations, competitions, and even a chance to adopt a wild Mustang at the event.
The Horse Festival is going to be unique in that you can learn from everything about, you know, what different breeds of horses are, down to the details of what kind of vaccination plan your horse needs, or hoof care, and, you know, or maybe you just want to go shopping, which is fine too, because there's going to be a lot of great vendors there as well.
Dr. McIntosh will be offering 5 seminars at the Horse Festival this year designed to give new horse owners the basics on what it takes to own a horse and to care for it. It's a good course to take before you ever load up a horse trailer. Complete 3 of the 5 seminars and you'll get a certificate from Virginia Tech that you've prepared to bring home your friend. And because they are so flexible, Clancy recommends you take a good look at the Superman of horses as your first step into the world of equine ownership.
The thoroughbred has so much life in them that you don't really want to retire them, and you know, you want them to go on and do other things. You know, I named my racing stable Riverdee Stable, and you know, Riverdee, my father and I bought as a 3-year-old. He ran on the flat. He ran over fences. He won on the flat. He won races over fences as a steeplechase horse. He became an event horse. He went around at Rolex Advanced. Then he became a high amateur horse in showing, went to the Hampton Classic, did all that. And then he came back and was my fox hunter at age, I think 14 to like 18. I rode him as at fox hunting first flight with Cheshire. And we just put him down. He was 30 years old. You know, what a life.
To learn more about the Mare Center, visit the Virginia Tech website at vt.edu and search for Middleburg. To learn more about the Virginia Horse Festival, go to its website at virginiahorsefestival.com. From Loudoun County, I'm Dave Miller.
It's been 45 years since world-famous racehorse Secretariat was born in a simple stable at Meadow Farm in Caroline County. 3 years later, in 1973, he went on to win horse racing's Triple Crown, one of the last horses to achieve that challenging feat. In the last of the 3 races, the Belmont Stakes, he crossed the finish line with a record-setting time of 2 minutes 24 seconds and a full 31 lengths ahead of his nearest competitor. That track record still stands today. He was also a media superstar, the first horse to have an ad agency represent him. His success saved the family farm for owner Penny Chenery. You can learn more about Secretariat and tour his birthplace at Meadow Event Park.
I love being a dairy farmer because it's an adventure to be a dairy farmer. It's a new beginning every day.
Every day I can get up in the morning and have a smile on my face, whether it's raining or whether the sun's shining. I love what I do.
Growing up on a dairy farm, I think you learn to work really hard and don't take anything for granted.
There's a lot of work to do on a dairy farm. You have to be committed.
It's a huge responsibility that we have being farmers. We take pride in it and we're proud to be able to do it.
Every day we have the opportunity to provide a wholesome product that's vitamin rich and nutrient full.
It's a feel-good feeling knowing that I'm putting food on somebody else's table and that I'm doing a good job doing it.
I'm Ken Smith.
I'm Ben Smith.
And I'm dedicated to dairy,
my cows, my milk, my land.
Garden experts will tell you that nothing improves your soil like good compost. Chris Mullins visits a local farmer who's so good at making his own compost, he actually sells it to others from the ground up.
Hi and welcome. Today we're in Louisa County, Virginia. We're at All Farm Organics Farm. We're here with William Hale. He's the owner and operator, organic farmer, compost maker. And we're here to talk about compost, and we're going to see how he makes it and talk a little bit about how you might be able to use it in your garden. Well, thank you so much, William, for letting us come here today. We really appreciate that. So you make compost on a pretty large scale. And tell us a little bit about what you do here and how long you've been doing it.
Yeah, I've been making compost on a small commercial scale, a farm-based commercial scale, for about a dozen years now.
Okay. As a home gardener, is compost something that they want to use in their garden? Do they want to amend their soil with it? Does it help them?
Absolutely, all of the above.
Okay.
And so I guess it begs the question, what is compost and what does it do? And,
sure.
And why am I making compost?
Right.
Compost is basically the concentrated life of the soil. It's the carbon and the nitrogen, which are the basic carbon-nitrogen cycle, which is our whole life, which we now realize, and it's a fairly recent realization for agriculture as a whole, that it's all living stuff under our feet that makes everything grow. And what I'm trying to do is to make the essential elements that are doing that. And those elements are actually not so much chemical elements as microbes and microorganisms that I'm trying to concentrate in a healthy form.
Gotcha. The real life of the soil, right?
The real life of the soil in a concentrated fashion.
Well, William, this is a long windrow of material here. What's going on here? How did this start? I guess this is in the compost stage, right?
This is in the highly active compost stage, in which there are all sorts of microorganisms that are attacking the natural products that I've put together here.
Okay.
And what they are that I put together is hay, which you can see from these little pieces here.
Right.
And there is wood shavings, and there is soy pulp. Those are the primary things.
Okay.
I've added an inoculant of soil and old compost, which is what's making this all of a sudden heat up so much, because we have a whole lot of different critters in here, just like us, eating, breathing, and defecating, and doing that other thing that people like to do, and keeps us going.
So they're breaking down all the material into something that's really good for the soil.
That's right, and they're making soil. They're making not just the chemicals in the soil, but that we're creating a huge, basically library of a wide span of different kinds of microorganisms
right,
to go into the soil.
Now I noticed the thermometer there on this is reading a little over 140 degrees. And
that's perfect, actually, for what we want.
Right, and this is a very cold day. We're at like 20 degrees Fahrenheit right now.
At most.
And I saw another pile that had another thermometer in it that was a little cooler. Now what's going on there, the differences between the two piles?
That pile has already gone through this process, and there's not much activity going on.
Okay.
So that it is now, it even has a cover on it, but it is only back at about 100 degrees.
Okay.
And this is now at 140. This will keep doing this for about 6 weeks.
6
and
weeks.
I have to turn it and
Okay.
water it.
Okay, so all the inputs you've got, you get them together, you put them together, and you eventually have to turn this. And if people are at home trying to make this kind of stuff, it's important to turn the pile so that you keep oxygen and water in the pile.
That's exactly right, Chris. When compost starts to smell bad, when you smell that sulfurous odor,
right,
you're doing a bad thing to your soil when you add that stuff to it. You want to have all aerobic organisms, and they all smell good when they're working.
All right, William, so we saw the windrows, we saw the material that you put together, all the heat, and it cools down. This looks like the end product that you're going to get.
It is.
So a gardener, it obviously is good for their soil, and they can buy this from you, a farm like this. There's some other people that do this sort of thing. You can find it in bags. Tell me the pros and cons of this sort of thing.
Well, there's a lot of difference. Actually, you'll see if you tried various different bags that are available, and mostly it's available in bags, except from operations like this.
Right.
And take a look at what it looks like. It needs to be basically a rich brown milk chocolate color.
Okay.
But primarily, it's going to smell really good.
Right.
And if you smell this,
oh yeah,
you see it smells like the earth that you get up under the trees in an old forest.
So this is what, if somebody's making this on their own for their own home garden, this is what their end product needs to look like.
That's what they're looking for.
Excellent. Well, thank you so much for letting us come out here today. This has been really eye-opening for me, and I hope for the other people that are watching. Thanks again.
Absolutely.
Well, for more information about compost or how to use it in your garden, please contact your local county extension office and talk to your master gardener. From the Ground Up, I'm Chris Mullins, and we'll see you next time.
Horses, dogs, food, and fun. It's all coming March 27th to the 29th at the Virginia Horse Festival at the Meadow. Experience 3 days of equestrian and family-friendly activities. Shop vendors selling trailers, boots, barns, and food. Watch the Central Virginia Agility Club show off their canines expertise. Attend clinics, demonstrations, and seminars. Cheer on the Extreme Mustang Makeover East Coast Finals. And don't miss the Parade of Breeds. Learn more at virginiahorsefestival.com. It's the Virginia Horse Festival at Meadow Event Park. Don't miss it. Farmers and gardeners alike raise everything from asparagus to zucchini here in Virginia. While not all vegetables are big commercial sellers, Virginia tomatoes, spinach, sweet corn, peppers, lettuce, and cucumbers can be found in markets across the Mid-Atlantic region. More than 1,600 farmers raise vegetables commercially, and the majority of those farms are 15 acres or smaller. About 90% of the vegetables raised in the Old Dominion are sold fresh, the rest go to processors. And these are high-value crops, generating almost $92 million in sales for farmers each year. Vegetable season starts in March with greens, and by June of each year, fresh Virginia vegetables are easy to find.
March is the perfect time of year to make homemade vegetable stew, and Miss America 2010 Carissa Jackson shows us her recipe with step-by-step directions in the heart of the home.
Hi, I'm Carissa Jackson for Heart of the Home, coming to you from the kitchen at the Meadow Event Park. Today we're going to be making a hearty chicken and vegetable stew. So we're going to start this off with some vegetables. So you either want to start with fresh vegetables or frozen. And so here I have a combination of carrots, peas, green beans, and corn. I also have some fresh potatoes here. This is one potato chopped up into about 1/4 inch thick pieces, and they are basically sliced down the side and then 4 times just to get your pieces here. Then we have 2 cups of shredded chicken. To save you a step, you can pick up a rotisserie chicken at a store, or if you want, this is the equivalent of 2 chicken breasts. You can boil them or bake them, whatever you want to do ahead of time, and then shred it. We have 1/4 cup of sugar here, but you're going to use the sugar to taste. We have 1 can of triple succotash and 1 can of stewed tomato. So to begin, we want to turn our eye onto medium heat. One of the fun things to know about this recipe is that you can cook this the fast way, which is what I'm about to show you, but this is also a great slow cooker recipe. So you can put all of these ingredients together on your slow cooker, cook it for about 4 hours on high or 8 hours on low, but do not put raw chicken into your slow cooker. You still want to make sure that the chicken was cooked ahead of time. So we're going to start with our stewed tomatoes and our succotash. Succotash is a combination of tomatoes, butter beans, corn, so you can get this at your local grocer, and you can get many different kinds because some of them have celery in them. So I'm not a particular fan of celery, so I don't put celery in mine. And so once we have our liquid ingredients in, the next thing that we want to put in will be our potatoes because they're going to take a little bit longer to cook than everything else. We want to cook this on low for about 5 to 10 minutes or until our potatoes start to give a little bit when you either push it down with a fork or with your spoon. All right, and now we're going to add our vegetables, fresh or frozen, whichever you prefer. And for those of you wondering, yes, you could use a canned combination of these vegetables, but I just try when I cook to cut down on as many canned and processed foods as possible and to do things a little more fresh in the healthy way. You can get lots of fresh local vegetables at your farmer's market, or if you have a garden, you could go out and stew yourself some tomatoes the night before or a week or two before and have them ready for this recipe. If you want a more soupy stew, at any point during this recipe, you could add about a cup or a cup and a half of water, just depending on how much more soupy you want it to be, but I like a really hearty soup. At the same time that we add our vegetables, we can go ahead and add our chicken. Want to get everything nice and coated. And then we can salt and pepper to taste. And with our sugar, you can pretty much do this to taste. If you want your stew to have a little bit of a sweet kick to it, go ahead and put the entire 1/4 cup of sugar in there. If you want just to take a little bit of the bite of the tomato off, then maybe do about 3 or 4 pinches. And that's what I'm going to do today. All right, we're going to cover and cook this on low for about 30 minutes, or like I said, if this were a crock pot meal that you were doing, about 4 hours or 8 hours, depending on if you're cooking it on low or high. And then we'll come back and it'll be time to serve. All right, now we are at the point where our potatoes have cooked down, our vegetables are ready, and you can hear that it's simmering a little bit, and we are ready to serve. You can serve this with a little Parmesan cheese on top if you like. I like to eat mine with a little butter crackers. And here you have it, hearty chicken and vegetable stew. From Heart of the Home, I'm Caressa Jackson. Come and get it.
Recipes from the Heart of the Home can be found on the Virginia Farm Bureau website at vafarmbureau.org.
We all want healthy rivers and streams, but we can't do that without help from Virginia's landowners. Resource Management Plans, or RMPs, are part of a voluntary program that helps farmers get credit for cleaning up our waters. And once you have an RMP, you are exempt from any new water quality requirements for 9 years. The Virginia Department of Conservation and Recreation has funds available to help you implement these plans. Contact the department today to learn more. Thank you.
This message sponsored by Virginia's agriculture community.
Some may not realize that there is a serious problem facing both rural and urban residents in Virginia. Food deserts are the topic of a new documentary making its premiere at the Richmond International Film Festival.
In 2013, a collaborative study by Virginia Tech and Virginia State University showed that the effects of food deserts in Virginia were a huge health concern for a large amount of the state's citizens. These are areas in both urban and rural Virginia where residents do not have easy access to fresh, healthy, and affordable food, and it's largely due to a lack of grocery stores, farmers markets, or healthy food providers. The study, which crossed racial and economic boundaries, proved what many folks had feared. The citizens of Virginia were suffering, literally starving for healthy foods in these food deserts. But several years later, nothing much had been done to address the problem. That's why Jewel Hairston, Dean of Virginia State University's College of Agriculture, asked Emmy Award-winning filmmaker Jesse Vaughn to publicize the study's findings in a documentary, Living in a Food Desert.
Across Virginia, approximately 17.8% of the population lives in a food desert.
We're here suffering. All we ask is that you listen to us.
They should at least have one grocery store in this area that is a grocery store, not a damn junk store.
Food deserts are indeed present all over the state of Virginia. But sometimes when you have that on a piece of paper in a study, it just has a tendency to potentially be put on a shelf and put away. And this is something that I think many are passionate about in the state of Virginia, not just VSU, but there's so many people who understand this is an issue right in their own community. And so now the documentary puts a face on the issue. And so if we're really going to hit this issue hard, we're going to need some focused resources towards this to incentivize stores to try to carry healthier foods. We may need some policy changes, tax incentives, and those types of things to encourage people who have an entrepreneurial mindset to try to do something different to get fresh and healthy foods to challenge communities all over the state.
Hairston herself grew up in a food desert in Petersburg and knows firsthand the problems facing people in these areas. But the problem goes well beyond Central Virginia. Maureen McNamara Best, Executive Director for Leap for Local Food in Roanoke, says the problem's just as prevalent in Southwest Virginia.
I mean, Floyd County, a lot of that is considered food desert, but that's also where most of our farmers are, and so there are different challenges because you may have land, but you may not have, you may have to drive really far to get to a full-service grocery store.
The food desert study came out of a U.S. Department of Agriculture nutritional study, and it was funded by the Virginia General Assembly. The film's goal is to enlighten Virginia communities on the growing problem and help them find local solutions that work.
We have agriculture as the #1 industry in the state of Virginia, but we have people who are hungry and we have people who can't access nutritious food, and so there's that disconnect, and I think that's what's so important. How do we begin to bring the solutions to the problem? Hopefully that will be the outcome 5 years from now. We will begin to see changes occurring and people who say, hey, you know what, there was no big grocery store that opened in my community, but now my corner store carries fresh vegetables. That's where the change really occurs at the very personal and the local level. So that's what I hope will come out of all of this.
It's easy to kind of talk about food deserts and census tracts, but it's like, what does that actually look like on the ground? And so it may be that, in one neighborhood, it's economically depressed. There's a lot of maybe minority groups living there, a lot of immigrant groups. And, so a lot of times when there aren't services available, there's a lot of services that aren't available. So food desert is just one additional struggle or barrier.
Living in a Food Desert premieres March 1st at the Byrd Theater in Richmond, Virginia as part of the Richmond International Food Festival. Reporting in Petersburg, I'm Norm Hyde.
That's going to do it for this edition of Real Virginia. We're so glad you could join us to celebrate the bounty Virginia has to offer, whether it's in your home, your garden, or your landscape. We're proud to say that this is Real Virginia. So for everyone from the Virginia Farm Bureau, thanks for watching. Make it a good week.
Home will always be between the Blue Ridge and Chesapeake Bay, Atlantic to Appalachia, home in my heart, oh.